It doesn't take long for a Disney movie to rack up an endless list of fan theories, and the studio's latest film, Encanto, is no exception. Being a story that centers around magic, it makes sense that there are lots of fantastical theories floating around. But of those theories, we want to know which ones are likely to be true, and which ones are total BS. I'm Kyle with Wicked Binge, and this is Encanto Theories BS to Truth Bombs. First off, let's get the theories out of the way that have been debunked. These theories either have so many holes in them that they can't possibly be true, they lack evidence entirely, or they have been confirmed false by the creators. These theories are BS. Mirabel didn't need glasses. Reddit user Mobkurt pointed out that there wasn't a good reason to believe that Mirabel needed glasses considering her mother's powers. After all, Julieta was shown to be able to heal injuries with her food. However, we had to mark this one as BS since Julieta's powers only seem to work for injuries and not things that naturally occur.
You just healed my hand with an arepa con queso.
After all, in the song We Don't Talk About Bruno, we see plenty of people in the Encanto that have aged, lost their hair, or in the fish's case, have passed away. Julieta may have been able to heal cut hands and broken wrists, but she couldn't stop everything. Mirabel insulted the CASITA. This was another theory posted by Mobkurt on Reddit. Simply put, this stated the idea that Mirabel didn't receive her gift because she wiped her hands off on her dress after she had touched the candle. Not to pick on this Reddit user, but we had to label this theory as BS as well. We could acknowledge that Mirabel wiping her hands may have messed up the ritual, but we don't think it made the CASITA upset. After all, Mirabel had a really good relationship with it throughout the whole film, even being one of the only people to really communicate with the home. Moving on from the BS, these theories still have a lot of problems. Not enough to say they're completely debunked, but still, these theories are full of holes. One of the MADRIGALS will die very soon. TikTok user Healy Queen and Reddit user Bernie Joe came to this theory within a couple of days of one another. Upon looking at the portraits of the children by their doors, we see that all the portrayals on the doors are of them when they're older, despite being given their doors when they're children, with one exception, Antonio. Antonio was shown to be roughly the same age on his door as he was during the ceremony, which made him the odd one out. As this theory goes, since Antonio isn't shown to be older in his door, then he must not live to grow old enough. After all, the art book claims that the door is meant to age with the person. Considering the studio's attention to detail, it was hard to believe that they would overlook such a thing unless there was a reason. However, we ultimately had to place this theory as full of holes on our ranking since this would also imply that the rest of the family would soon die off, as the pictures on the doors match how we see them during the feature. It would be safe to say that the doors are presented to show the characters and how they are portrayed until the major shift in the magic, before Mirabel sets things right. It's also fair to assume that the door's design was impacted by how that person had certain expectations placed on them, such as with Bruno's door showing him as intimidating when he's in reality a nervous wreck. Mirabel wasn't at fault. YouTuber A Random Critique states that the MADRIGALS and their powers were fueled by not only the sacrifice of PEDRO, but the idea of hope. She points out that there was a recurring appearance from the yellow butterflies, which often symbolizes hope and transformation. Not only are these butterflies seen throughout the movie, but these butterflies were absent on two of the movie posters, Mirabel's and Bruno's. According to A Random Critique, the reason for this was because Bruno's fortunes were always seen as dismal, therefore robbing others of hope. With Mirabel, it was because of her lack of powers, and so was unable to have her life transformed by the presence of a miracle. She then goes on to explain that Bruno, foreseeing the future, was exactly why the house began breaking. We decided to label this theory as full of holes due to the fact that Bruno didn't allow anyone to see this vision.
Yeah, it's a mystery. It's a mystery. That's why this vision is...
The cracks began before Mirabel was aware of the vision. While Alma had begged Bruno to have a vision, Bruno had shattered it before she could see it for herself, knowing that everyone would see it as negative. While someone could argue that Bruno saw it and therefore put it all into motion, we have to point out that Bruno stated himself that the vision would change and go out of order, thereby making the future uncertain. Also, though Mirabel didn't have any butterflies glowing around her in the poster, that didn't mean she was without them. After all, they're embroidered all over her dress. With that said, we're now into the middle category, where we may stumble into some truth. Maybe. These theories are the possible. PEPA'S wedding was Abuela's fault. Reddit user N7 Inquisitor suggests that after Bruno made the poor joke to Pepa that it looked like rain, she was nervous but hadn't yet gotten to the point that she would make anything happen.
We don't talk about Bruno.
That is, however, until she saw Abuela bring an umbrella to the ceremony. According to the theory, having her own mother doubt her ability to control her powers, even on this important day, was what set off her panic and caused the small amount of rain to turn into a hurricane. While Abuela doubting her family and their ability to control their powers would be a blow to their self-confidence, we have to place the blame more on Pepa herself than on anyone else. Yes, Bruno made a poor choice of a joke, but he admits that it wasn't a prophecy. Yes, Abuela needed more faith in her daughter, and should have made more of an effort calming Pepa's nerves, then buying into the fear. But the fact is, she was the one who controlled the weather. Does Mirabel qualify as a Disney princess? The YouTube channel Super Carlin Brothers decided to tackle this question. According to the video, there are only 12 official Disney princesses when you go by Disney's lineup. In order to qualify as a princess, you either have to be royalty, marry royalty, or perform a great act of heroism. While Mirabel being there for her family wasn't the most heroic act ever done in a Disney movie, the success of the film would likely help Disney overlook that Mirabel isn't of royal blood. However, Mirabel also lacked a sidekick of any sort, losing out on a merchandising opportunity that the company loves to use as much as possible. There is a decent chance that Mirabel could rise up to the status of Disney princess, rather than being a secondary heroine like Tinkerbell or Nala. The determining factor may just be the success of the movie, and how the company can market it when it comes to future merchandise. Now, these next conspiracies make a lot of sense. In fact, we think they're more likely to be true than not. These theories are probable. The CASITA is PEDRO. Reddit user Aphrodite makes a good case that the CASITA itself is alive and magical, because it is what remained of PEDRO. After all, the CASITA interacted with the family well, especially when it came to Abuela Alma and Mirabel. The home was seen scolding Camilo for disguising himself as Dolores to get seconds. The home was also able to soften the impacts of Camilo and Isabella after their magic failed and proceeded to get the rest of the family out while still protecting Mirabel. Afterwards, when the family was healed and brought back together, with Mirabel being seen as a more vital member of the MADRIGALS, the CASITA was brought back to life and eagerly welcomed everyone back home. Why Mirabel didn't receive a gift? Lots of Reddit users and YouTubers have similar theories on this matter. Ultimately, these theories all weave together to paint the picture that Mirabel and Abuela hold the same role in the family. Abuela had been upset to not see Mirabel receive a gift, but Abuela didn't really have much of one herself. She was able to wield the candle, communicate with the CASITA, and led the others through their ceremonies. Mirabel herself said Abuela was the one who called the shots on how the family conducted themselves. These weren't that different of tasks from what Mirabel herself tried to do. Of all the Madrigals, Mirabel and Abuela were the only ones to speak to the CASITA and help encourage the use of everyone's gifts.
I think you're carrying way too much.
These theories also pointed out that someone would have needed to guide the family after Abuela's eventual passing. Though Julieta could heal people, there was never an implication that her food made people immortal, which meant someone would need to take up the spot as head of the family. It's not just the lack of an obvious gift or Mirabel's ability to talk to the home that leads us to this conclusion. Abuela was able to help the Madrigals find their gifts, but Mirabel was able to help truly make them flourish. Isabella didn't realize her full potential until her confrontation with Mirabel, when she finally revealed she wasn't perfect. Bruno didn't allow his visions to be seen again until Mirabel saw them as a ray of hope rather than certain doom. Reddit user StateGate added that there was a chance that, unlike the other Madrigals, Mirabel was actually born with her magic rather than being gifted it during the ceremony, and points out that the people ransacking the town in Abuela's flashback could have been looking for PEDRO specifically, stating that PEDRO could have been a magician. He was never shown to display any magical ability, but his death did result in the candle being enchanted and the Encanto forming. By the end of the film, the candle was dead, implying that the magic was gone for good. But Mirabel was able to restore the magic to the CASITA by placing the doorknob in place, showing that she may be the new source of the magic rather than the candle. This is also supported by the fact that Abuela confided to Pedro she feared the magic was dying after Mirabel's ceremony.
Help me protect our family.
Everyone was relieved when Antonio got his door, but remember that Antonio didn't just touch the ceremonial candle. He also clung to Mirabel's arm the whole day. N7 Inquisitor also pointed out that the CASITA may have been punishing Abuela due to how she was using the magic. Abuela had been insistent that the family use their powers to help the community, honoring the sacrifice that Pedro gave in order for them to have their home in the Encanto in the first place. But in wanting to help, Abuela wound up hindering the family, thereby exploiting the magic and actually going against what Encanto was made for. They went on to state that Mirabel didn't get a gift in order to help remind Abuela as to why the family was gifted in the first place. That isn't to say that this last theory is a standalone, as it could help support the other speculations about Mirabel's lack of a gift. After all, once the CASITA was rebuilt and the candle was no longer a factor, she was able to open the main door, with it glowing to reveal her role in the family. LUISA, the first truly exploited Madrigal. This was another theory presented by N7 Inquisitor. Unlike some of the members of the family that used their powers now and then, or wherever they pleased for their own satisfaction, she was always pushed to do a million tasks all at once. Even before the song Surface Pressure, we see her given job after job, showing that the family and community as a whole took advantage of Luisa's strength. It wouldn't have been a bad thing to ask her to do tasks to help people, but to continuously bombard her was a lot to put on her.
Lisa, the donkeys got out again.
On it.
Keep in mind, she was still pretty young, and this was likely how she was treated from the moment she received her gift. This theorist also points out that Luisa being exploited over the years may have been a factor as to why Mirabel wasn't granted a gift. The CASITA would have been known about the mounting pressure put on Luisa to be able to do all these random jobs every moment of every day, and that would have gone against the reason for the Madrigals to be gifted miracles in the first place. Luisa wasn't being selfless because she wanted to, but because she was taught it was simply expected of her. She was never allowed to relax, and so Mirabel wasn't given a gift in order to spare others from that fate. Finally, we've reached the truth. Confirmed truth. People have blown the whistle on these theories with such compelling evidence that they must be true, or a creator outright confirmed it. These theories are truth bombs. Abuela's gift. An article on thefocus.news brought up this theory around Abuela Alma's miracle. The article explained that Alma had been the one to take the candle after Pedro passed, and the flame continuing to burn after the Encanto was established and the CASITA was built. When Alma's children became of age, the CASITA went on to give them all their own miracles. Abuela's own gift was being able to be the core of the magic within the Encanto, resulting in the Madrigals thriving as the family grew. Who killed Pedro? YouTuber Isaac Carlson created a video discussing the setting of Encanto and how it explained who exactly was attacking the village. In this video, Carlson briefly covers the conflict that arose in Colombia in the 1940s, with civil unrest developing between conservative and liberal political parties. These conflicts then bled into people being encouraged to attack their own community, trying to chase out or kill anyone that disagreed with them. Unfortunately, this theory claims Alma and Pedro were among the many people targeted. We ranked this one incredibly high on our list, considering that the people on horseback we do witness causing fires and hunting the villagers down are few in number and don't appear to be a part of any organized military force. This also adds to the significance of having a home and being desperate not to be robbed of it. After all, Abuela's biggest fear throughout the movie was having the past repeat itself. She didn't want to see her family and community being attacked as it had all those years ago. Mirabel's gift. Reddit user Panda Marshmallows suggested that Mirabel's gift was to aid with the family's mental health and hold the Madrigals together as the new head of the home. And our prior theories that implied Mirabel being head of the family someday was the reason that she was left without a gift, Panda Marshmallows took it in another way. Throughout the movie, Mirabel was shown to help improve the family and help them use their powers. As we mentioned before, she was able to show aspects of the family's miracles that they hadn't noticed before when interacting with Isabel and Bruno. This also hinted at Mirabel setting the animal theme for Antonio's present before the door ceremony. Should Mirabel take over as the matriarch, That would also mean that she and Abuela could have shared a door, which was why Mirabel wasn't able to have her own after her ceremony. Another Reddit user, Assassin85, and the YouTuber Disney Daily took this theory further. Mirabel didn't get a room because the whole home was her room. As we pointed out before, the front door of the home was able to light up just like the others after their ceremonies, and magic was able to be restored the moment Mirabel put the knob in place. Another user pointed out that Mirabel had a better connection to the magic than the other members of the family, as she was the one who communicated the most with the CASITA. Mirabel was able to reach the candle when all the other members of the family were losing their powers and being forced out of the house. The house even used the last of its magic to keep Mirabel safe from the falling debris. This also explains why Mirabel was able to see the cracks before everyone else, and why the house finally broke apart during Mirabel and Abuela's fight.
The miracle is dying because of you.
Bruno's vision showed that Mirabel was the source of the cracks, but also had the potential to fix them, leaving the future uncertain. Mirabel was able to restore the magic or take it away completely. When Mirabel initially saw the cracks, Luisa confided in her that she had felt weak. After Luisa had spoken to Mirabel about all the pressure she was under, Luisa's powers began failing, hinting that Mirabel may have taken Luisa's strength away in order to relieve her older sister of all the stress she was under. Later, when Mirabel confronted Isabella was finally able to confess that she didn't want to simply do what the family expected, leading to Isabella creating something other than flowers. Every time Mirabel aided in someone else's powers, the candle would burn brighter and the cracks would heal, showing that Mirabel was the one in control. The subtle use of Mirabel's miracle was also shown through the musical numbers. Another Reddit user, Professor Tanil, pointed out that in the songs, Mirabel was shown to interact directly with what was occurring, reacting as though it was based in reality. It isn't unusual for characters in animated movies to interact with the surreal settings during a musical sequence, but in Encanto, it was displayed a little differently. We see the look of horror and fear on Mirabel's face when she sees Luisa crushed. We see Mirabel pull Isabella from her fantasy realm into the real world, with it ending in the entrance of the CASITA. There was also the sequence where we see Abuela Alma's past and how Pedro passed away. Mirabel wasn't guided through this memory with Abuela at her side. Instead, we see a distressed Mirabel witnessing Alma screaming and mourning while clinging to her children, and Mirabel was able to better understand why so much pressure had been put onto the family. Also, after the song Waiting on a Miracle, Mirabel was able to gain that reflection she needed to allow her magic to grow, causing her to see the cracks that were growing beneath the surface. Mirabel's strength was tied very heavily to aiding in not only her own mental health, but her family's. The user made the statement that Mirabel herself likely saw these moments as her own overactive imagination, thereby not calling any attention to these surreal experiences. After all, many of them happened in the enchanted home, where a magical setting wasn't out of the question. But let us know in the comments section what you think. Which of these theories seem the most likely to be true? And tell us what we should cover next. Remember to hit that notification bell and binge more of our videos. But most importantly, stay wicked.